Imagine standing at the edge of the world, looking out into the vast, uncharted waters of the unknown. The year is 1517, and the world as you know it is about to change forever. This is the story of a man named Ferdinand Magellan, a Portuguese explorer who dared to challenge the limits of the known world. His journey would not only rewrite the maps, but also the very understanding of the Earth itself. But before we dive into the epic tale of Magellan's voyage, let's take a step back and understand why this moment was so crucial. In the early 16th century, the world was a much larger and more mysterious place than it is today. The continents of North and South America had only recently been discovered by Christopher Columbus and other explorers, and the full extent of these new lands was still a mystery. The most pressing question on everyone's mind was whether there was a way to sail from Europe to the rich spice islands of the East Indies without having to navigate the dangerous and heavily contested waters around Africa. The Americas presented a formidable barrier. From the frozen north of Labrador to the steamy jungles of Brazil, the landmass seemed unbreakable. Some hopeful explorers dreamed of finding a passage through the thousands of islands and inlets of the Canadian Arctic. But after centuries of searching, it became clear that this was a fool's errand. The only hope left was to find a gap in the southern part of the Americas, but even this seemed unlikely. It was against this backdrop of uncertainty and challenge that Ferdinand Magellan, a man in his 40s, arrived in Seville, Spain. He had renounced his Portuguese nationality and come to offer his services to the Spanish crown. Magellan was not just any explorer. He was a man with a plan. He believed that there was a passage through the Americas that would lead directly to the Spice Islands, and he was determined to find it. Seville, the bustling port city, was a hub of maritime activity. The Casa de Contratación, the royal house of trade, was the heart of this activity. It was a chaotic place, filled with merchants, captains, and adventurers all vying for the king's favor. Magellan, a newcomer to this scene, had to navigate this complex world to get his plan heard. He found an ally in Diego Barbosa, a fellow Portuguese expatriate who had been serving the Spanish crown for many years. Diego, his son Duarte, and his daughter Beatriz all took a liking to Magellan. Beatriz, in particular, fell in love with him, and they were soon married. With the support of his new family, Magellan presented his plan to the Casa de Contratación. His proposal was ambitious, a westward voyage halfway around the globe to the Moluccas, the Spice Islands. He and his partner, Ruy Falero, an astronomer, had drawn up detailed plans and maps. They argued that the Moluccas lay on Spain's side of the papal line of demarcation, a treaty that divided the world between Spanish and Portuguese spheres of influence. They also claimed to know the location of a passage through the Americas that would make the journey much shorter and more feasible. The initial response was not promising. A commission of 3 officials rejected the plan, but one of the commissioners, Juan de Aranda, saw potential in Magellan's proposal. Aranda, a shrewd businessman, recognized the value of the Spice Islands and the strategic advantage of a shorter route. He offered to sponsor Magellan's application for royal support in exchange for a share of the profits. With Aranda's help, Magellan's plan gained traction. The following year, Magellan and Falero were summoned to Valladolid to meet with King Carlos. They presented their case using detailed letters from Magellan's friend Francisco Serrao, who had lived in the Spice Islands and described them in great detail. Magellan's knowledge of the South Seas, gained from his access to the Portuguese treasury, also played a crucial role. He was familiar with the logs and sailing directions of Portuguese explorers who had ventured into the Americas, and he had a profound understanding of the geography and navigation of the region. King Carlos was convinced. He pledged his support to Magellan, knighted him, and appointed him as the Captain General of the Armada de Molucca, the fleet that would undertake this historic voyage. The stage was set for one of the most ambitious and dangerous expeditions in human history. Magellan's journey began in September 1519, when 5 ships set sail from Seville. The fleet was small, with a total of about 270 men, but the stakes were high. The goal was to find the southern passage through the Americas and reach the Spice Islands. The first leg of the journey took them down the coast of South America, a treacherous and unfamiliar route. The ships faced storms, cold, and disease, but they pressed on. In October 1520, After months of searching, Magellan finally discovered the passage he had been seeking. It was a narrow, winding strait that would later bear his name, the Strait of Magellan. The fleet entered the strait and navigated through the treacherous waters, facing strong currents and rocky outcrops. It was a harrowing journey, but they emerged on the other side into the vast, calm waters of the Pacific Ocean, which Magellan named Mar Pacifico, the peaceful sea. The Pacific, however, presented new challenges. The vast ocean was much larger than anyone had imagined, and the ships were running low on food and fresh water. The crew faced starvation and scurvy, a deadly disease caused by a lack of vitamin C. Morale was low, and there were mutinies. Magellan's leadership and determination were crucial in keeping the expedition together. He made tough decisions, including executing some of the mutineers, to maintain order. After nearly 4 months at sea, the fleet finally reached the Mariana Islands, where they replenished their supplies. They then continued westward, reaching the Philippines in March 1521. It was in the Philippines that Magellan met his end. He became involved in a local conflict and was killed in battle on the island of Mactan. The remaining ships, now under the command of Juan Sebastián Elcano, continued the journey. The fleet reached the Spice Islands in November 1521, completing the first circumnavigation of the globe. They loaded their ships with valuable spices and set sail for home. The journey back was no less perilous, and only one ship, the Victoria, made it back to Spain in September 1522. Of the 270 men who had set out, only 18 returned, but they had accomplished something extraordinary. Magellan's voyage proved that the Earth was much larger than previously thought, and that it was possible to sail around the world. It opened up new trade routes and expanded the horizons of human knowledge. The discovery of the Strait of Magellan and the first circumnavigation of the globe were milestones in the age of exploration, and Magellan's name became synonymous with bravery, determination, and the spirit of discovery. Today, we take for granted the knowledge that the Earth is a sphere, and that it is possible to sail around it. But in the 16th century, these were revolutionary ideas. Magellan's journey was not just a feat of navigation. It was a testament to the human spirit and the drive to explore the unknown. It was a journey that changed the world, and continues to inspire explorers and dreamers to this day.